Okay, well let's break it down to the most commonly thing talked about, which would be something like crop deaths. Then, so so I like the idea of truly engaging with these anti-vegans that want to bring up crop deaths. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can about these topics, and although I think it's reasonable to protect our food to some degree. I would say that if we spray things onto our food and and that kills off insects, which I'm not even going to pretend to care a large amount about insects at this moment, but if also that kills off, I believe 67 million birds. I can't remember the amount of time it was that they died off because of insecticides. Um, and then you have the endless amount of rodents from rodenticides. The question becomes, is it reasonable to eat something unhealthy or to overeat that causes these deaths? So if somebody was like 100 pounds overweight, 200 pounds overweight, and they were eating vegan cakes or something, and this food was made from these crops that we had to kill things to get our food, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's not animal exploitation. We are not using those animals for our personal gain. We are just protecting what we now have, like as a as a strategy or method of food production, but we are not using those animals, and it's outside the realm of veganism for me. It's
Interesting.
it's just it's just that because of the utilitarian thought that it's about causing the least amount of harm, that
Hmm.
people take advantage of that idea, which is not veganism, to talk about crop deaths and justify animal exploitation. So I think it's very wrong to take that approach, because it's harming the movement. It's harming the advancement of veganism.
I don't think it is, but maybe I just care about a different. Maybe it's harmful to the idea of veganism you're referring to, whereas the idea I'm referring to, I think, is a more important issue, and therefore it's not harming that one. But let me bring this example to you because it seems kind of bothersome morally. If you if you had to put out rodenticides to
Mhm.
kill rodents to be able to eat the food that they were going to eat of ours, like to protect our food we're growing. And
Mhm.
we could detect how much suffering and pain, well, and death that comes from that. So when they eat the poison and it slowly kills them and they're in pain, if there was
Mhm.
some way to scientifically discover that if I had this plate full of sliced up apples and it caused a certain amount of pain, and then I think you might have seen this when I was talking to to George.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, and then on this other plate, you had a steak, like a piece of beef,
Mhm.
and you could measure exactly how much pain and suffering that caused to get that steak. Are you telling me that it is more moral or just more vegan to eat the apples if the pain was doubled in the rodents?
But it's not about pain and suffering. It's a rejection of the idea that animals are food. For example, in this case,
Yeah. Okay.
I'm,
So the
so
vegan thing, by your definition, would be to eat the apples. But which
yeah.
one would
Well,
be the more moral choice?
well, if grandma dies, should we eat grandma and spare some animal deaths because of crop deaths?
If grandma was healthy, sure.
Really, should we eat grandma?
I mean, I don't know how I'd feel about that in the sense that I've always known that it's supposed to be very unhealthy to eat other humans because it something bad happens there. There's some kind of like I believe I've heard that cannibalism leads to some kind of insanity, but that doesn't matter. We're kind of talking hypothetically, anyways.
Mhm.
Um, y- um, it would depend on what we're referring to. But yeah, if eating grandma's flesh was healthy and not eating it meant that we had to cause other suffering to another animal, it would have to be more moral to eat grandma outside of religious ideas.
So you don't think that if humans regard other humans as food, that would lead to many problems?
No, no.
Not really, really,
I mean,
because that's
it's
what happens
possible.
with animals, certain animals.
It's
It doesn't.
possible that it could lead people to attempt, like, because we'd be talking about eating, like, it would still be illegal to kill people. So we're talking about if there was a problem that was caused, it would be something like leading somebody that's obsessed with eating humans because of this, to kill somebody and eat them illegally, or to try to sneakily kill somebody with in some kind of way to make it look like it was natural so they could eat them or something. But that really wouldn't change much of anything. If we either have things be illegal or we don't have them be illegal and they're moral or they're not immoral.
Well, the whole point of veganism is to tackle the perception of other animals. It's not about suffering. It's to tackle that perception that other animals are, a rhino is valuable because of the horn, or a, pig is food for some people. The whole point of veganism is to tackle that perception. It's not just it's not the utilitarian view that we shouldn't cause any suffering, because if that was the view, then any vegan would be really would be obliged, or well, any vegan would have a problem with running in the park and killing some insects in the park while running, jogging.
Yeah.
It's a stupid argument. We cannot defend the argument that we should cause the least amount of harm. That's very problematic.
Well, why
Because
why do you do it then if you have to care about harm somewhat, right? Like, I
yeah, the
get that
harm.
you're saying it's about the exploitation of animals, but why do you not care about harm?
I care about harm, but the harm that comes from animal exploitation is the one that veganism aims to tackle. That is the point.
Yeah, and I get that, but I'm trying to figure out why. Because you're saying, well, first of all, I want to see if you agree at very least. Well, actually, no. You were saying it is immoral to consume the animal, no matter what. So the harm would not affect that. So that does make it more complicated, because I think that's a very strange take. Are you religious at all?
No.
Okay. Because I've talked to a lot of vegans, and a lot of them disagree with me on a lot of different things. But I have not come across maybe one vegan that feels the same way as you on that aspect, that it would be immoral to do anything involving a body that's already dead. So that does
Okay.
make it slightly more complicated to talk about. Well, would you? Okay, so if you have a dead 5-year-old child and an alive 5-year-old child, it's more immoral to kick the alive one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's because that one can suffer from the kicking and the other one can't, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you just think because you have a level of respect for anything that was once sentient, it's immoral to kick the dead one as well?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
so should we play football with that dead child's head? Just we should just sever that head and play football,
I
because
understand
it's not a sentient being anymore.
I
Is
understand
that
why.
your point?
Yes, I understand why some people would find it disgusting. I would personally find it disgusting. I would not find it to be immoral.
Really?
Be, yeah, I would. I would because of how gross I would find it, I would view that I would have to think there must be something wrong with the person doing it. So I would be nervous about what that meant about their brain, but I would not say that this is some issue we have to tackle legally or anything. I just can't imagine. And maybe I think about.
Do you think it should be legal? It should be legal to play with dead humans' heads. Should it be legal?
I would
Because
want to
it's not
figure out
immoral.
how those dead human heads got there. I don't know if it should be more legal for the family of dead people to be able to say what happens to their bodies. Do you bury it or whatever? But sure, if somebody came across the idea of somebody being disgusted by something should not make something law. If somebody came across some dead body somehow and they could take its head and start playing football with it, that means nothing to me ethically.